Hey guys, what's up? Thank you so much for joining the episode 5 of the Hustle Duo show. In today's episode, I chatted with New York-based nutrition expert Brooke Alpert. Brooke is the founder of Be Nutritious and works with a variety of clients to meet their nutritional goals while working with their busy lifestyle. She has had a private practice for over 11 years and has also published multiple books on how to eat and live healthier. Her latest book is called The Diet Detox, and during our chat, we have covered the 10 rules of healthy lifestyle mentioned in the book quite extensively. So in this episode, you'll hear what type of the food will provide you the best nutritional value, how to time your meals, how to reduce sugar, and deal with its cravings. So stay tuned. Brooke has shared a ton of valuable and practical information on how to stay and eat healthy. So if you care about these things, this episode is exactly for you. And if you're joining the Hustle Duo Show podcast for the first time, it's a weekly podcast where I chat with experts on body and mind growth, and we chat about topics that would help you, me, and basically everybody to become a better version of ourselves. It's part of the project called Hustle Duo that I do together with my wife, and the purpose of it is to encourage people to engage in various 21-day challenges for body and mind that would help them to build the positive habits, eliminate the bad ones, and basically just challenge themselves. You can find all information at our website at hustleduo.com. So thanks for sticking around in this intro, and let's jump right into the episode 5 with Brooke Alpert. Hi, Brooke, and welcome to the Hustle Duo Show.
Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So, Brooke, tell me, as I mentioned a little bit, before we started recording, is that we all believe that we are all superheroes with a lot of superpowers. So what would you say is your biggest superpower?
Oh, that's a good one. I always joke that because I'm a mother, I'm automatically a superhero because moms can do anything.
Of course.
So yeah. I think motherhood has really been my superhero power.
Yes. I can imagine. Well, actually, I can because I don't have any kids yet.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can accomplish. There's an expression, give a busy woman work. And it's like the more I have to do, the more heavy bags and a crying child I have to carry, or the more assignments at the office I have to do, the more I can do. So it's just sort of, the more you give me, the more I'm able to do. So that's sort of my power right there.
That's the thing. That's amazing superpower. That's crazy. Yeah. Awesome. So you're a nutritionist by trade, right? So tell me.
I'm a registered dietitian. Yes.
Yep. Okay. So registered dietitian. So tell me, how did you become interested in that? Where it all started from?
Sure. So about 15 years ago, I was working at a very well-known publishing company, working for Vogue magazine. And while I was working at Vogue, we started doing stories. One was on Nicholas Perricone, who really was the one to start talking and bringing omega-3 fatty acids and their health and skin benefits, especially from a dermatologist point of view. So one of my associates was doing the diet, and I really just sort of fell in love with the idea of food as medicine and what it can do and how it can change everything from your skin to your hair to how you feel. And so while I was there, still working at Vogue, I started going back to school for nutrition part-time. And eventually I decided to go back to school and quit my job and dive back into the student world, which was quite humbling in my mid-20s to do again. And dove in for 4 more years to become a registered dietitian and get my master's degree in science and clinical nutrition. And another 11 years, I've had my private practice since then. And it's been kind of quite the roller coaster ride.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So during the 11 years of practice, what was the, biggest challenge or, starting this business kind of?
When starting the business was kind of funny. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do one-on-one nutrition counseling. That's what I wanted to be like the bread and butter of my business, for lack of a better word. And so I basically rented a tiny small office in a therapist's office where I had to put my scale in a closet because I wasn't allowed to leave it out. And I had it for like 5 hours twice a week. And I literally sat there. I didn't have a single client. I didn't have anything, but I had something to start with. And back then I had a BlackBerry, and that was like my lifeline. And I decided this is going to be it. And eventually I got one client through a referral of a trainer that I knew at one of the gyms I went to. And after that, it fully snowballed into this huge practice that I've expanded about 4 times. own my own office space now. I don't have to hide my scale in the closet anymore like I did that first
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
And so I really believe if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, it sounds like that. You know, everybody has to start somewhere. So you started really small, but then kind of your work, your good service, kind of started the whole snowball of the referrals and so on. So that's just a sign of very high quality of your work. Uh, and let's talk about that beautiful book you have behind you. So you just published it this around a month ago, right?
Yeah.
And the book, for those who are listening us on audio only, it's called The Diet Detox, and it has the subtitle "Why Your Diet Is Making You Fat and What to Do About It." And what's interesting is that it's based on these 10 rules, right? And I'm not sure how much time we have, but I would love to actually go through every single rule, at least briefly, maybe elaborate a little bit more about the rule number 5. So I could actually just go through the rules very quickly. I have them in front of me. Rule number 1, eat protein and fiber at every meal. Rule number 2, check your starches. 3, clock your meals. 4, eat fat. 5, watch the sugar. 6, indulge intentionally. 7, supplement smartly. 8, get some sleep. 9, drink water. And the last one is exercise. So definitely awesome set of rules. I try to follow them naturally, but let's talk about rule number 1: eat protein and fiber at every meal. So what do you mean by that?
So the number one question that I get from my clients in my practice is, well, what do I eat? And I can educate them for an hour, and then they go to a restaurant and they're like, well, what do I eat? And so I wanted to really make it very clear. And so this is sort of my diet manifesto, these rules. This is what I do in my private practice, where I've seen, God, probably hundreds of thousands of clients at this stage. And eat a protein and fiber at every meal. This way you know exactly what to put on your plate. And when I'm talking about fiber, I'm really only talking about fruits and vegetables. When I'm talking about protein, it can be, high quality, biological value proteins, such as chicken or grass-fed beef, or it could be dairy products or nuts, any sort of good quality protein I'm all for. But that's what needs to be on your plate. So when I have someone that's going to a restaurant and doesn't know what they should have, as long as they can check those 2 boxes, they then know that they've got exactly what they need on their plate. That's the purpose for that.
Gotcha.
Simplify it.
And what could be an example for breakfast?
Sure. So breakfast could be a Greek yogurt with fruit. Greek yogurt being the protein. It's a higher protein content than regular yogurt. Fruit being your fiber source. It can be scrambled eggs with spinach. It could be chia pudding, right? So a bunch of really simple things. It could be an apple and almond butter. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just making sure you get those two food groups. It just makes things so simple for people. And again, this is food. It's not rocket science. It shouldn't be complicated. So I like to simplify it.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It just made me hungry. I will not ask any more questions about what to eat.
I think you're out of luck there.
Yeah. So number 2, check your starches. So I'll let you elaborate. Yeah.
Sure. So starches is the other food group. So starches can have fiber in them, but when I'm talking about starches, I'm talking the pastas, the rice, the breads, ideally all high quality ones. So whole grain pastas, whole grain breads. White rice is fine, brown rice is fine, but butternut squash, potatoes, any of those high carbohydrate content starches. And I like to separate them and not call them carbs because it's so confusing. I have clients that come to my office and they're like, well, I don't eat any carbs. And then they tell me they had a banana, they had yogurt, they had these veggies, all of which contain carbohydrates. So I like to really, segregate it into really calling them starches. And while I don't believe in counting calories or really being super restrictive, starches are the one thing I ask people to count. And the reason is that they are so easy to overeat. The proper portion is much smaller than we're aware of, especially here in the US. And even more so, they're the number one thing that can cause weight gain quickly. So I normally ask people to have 1 or 2 starches per day. And 1 starch is like 1 slice of multigrain toast. It's not a big serving.
All right. So are you saying that like the full pasta meal or like a full sandwich, that's already like on the limit, or?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, so if you're going to have, a sandwich with two slices of bread, that's two starches. You're done for the day.
yeah, that's
So
it.
open face is the way to go for a sandwich.
Okay, open face. Yeah, that's actually the way we eat it here in Europe a lot more.
Exactly. It's much cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. Um, all right, so check your starches. So not it's not like eliminate starches, but limit them, right? Limit them.
Right. And the reason I don't eliminate them is because when all of a sudden you say, I'm not going to eat bread ever, what happens when you go to a restaurant and you have a bread basket in front of you? You dive headfirst into it. No food should be put on a pedestal. All right. Okay. And there's really no foods that are completely off limit aside from artificial sweeteners and sodas in my world. Right. So when we talk about, checking your starches, it's having them when they're worthwhile, but setting up a healthy relationship with them. Because the last thing I want people doing is know, eating starches and eating all of the ones that are not even worth it. There's nothing worse than ruining, your healthy lifestyle than eating like stale bread at a restaurant.
Exactly, exactly. And then
Yeah.
and then once again, they're like always better alternatives, right? I mean, one bread is not equal to another bread. Like you could always take the whole grain, like the more nutty one. It has more maybe protein, less carbs, right?
Yeah, it's going to have equal amount of carbohydrates, but it's just going to have more fiber. So it's going to have less of effect on your blood sugar in your body. So ideally, all of these are good quality, whole grain, high fiber options. And then if you really do want white flour products, that would be in rule number 6 about an intentional indulgence. Because a bowl of white pasta is delicious, but it does nothing for you nutritionally. So I put that more in the dessert category.
Gotcha. Awesome. So then, rule number 3 is clock your meals. Yeah. What's that? What do you mean? Like,
So, as I said, I'm a mother. So when I have my children, they eat on a schedule starting from the day that they're born. We have a schedule for them and we do the best to maintain it because what it does is sets them up for success and sets me up for success to know when they're going to get hungry. We need to treat ourselves the same way. If you go all day without eating, you're not going to have a healthy relationship with your dinner. So by eating approximately every 4 hours, some people can push it to five. I sometimes need a 3 hour window in the morning. I get very hungry after breakfast. So how do you set yourself up so that at each meal you can make a healthy choice? And that's by eating a meal or a snack every couple of hours. The last thing I ask people to do is that I want an earlier dinner. I keep talking about bringing back the early bird special. My friends, joke that I want to live like a retired person, that I want to be fully like, in a senior citizen and retired and just eat early dinners. But what do we do to have an earlier dinner? And the reason is that by having an earlier dinner, if you can allow yourself 12 to 14 hours between dinner and the next morning's breakfast, you are actually setting your body up for a hormonal reaction, which is similar to the reaction that you'll have during intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting, yeah, is so awesome and has amazing studies about what it can do. But I don't know many people, especially, us Americans, that actually can maintain it and stick to it and where it not set you up for failure. So this is one way by giving 12 to 14 hours between dinner and breakfast to reap some of the benefits of intermittent fasting, of what it can do for your metabolism, what it can do for your hormonal balance, what it can do for your weight and for everything, without setting yourself up for a binge later.
gotcha. So intermittent fasting is just a nice dream, or what? It's just like a nice illusion that it would be nice if we could naturally keep up with it, right? But I mean, it's just, I guess.
And I think there's some people that can. I love to challenge myself and to try things. It's part of, I think why I'm in this business. I think it's fun to try out things. So I like to mess around with it, but I also have a very healthy relationship with food. And I know that most of it is because of my job and what I do every day. I don't think that it's successful in the everyday person. There's plenty of people who might be quite successful at it, but I think for the majority, it's very challenging to do.
Yeah, let's see. We actually, one of the challenges we have is intermittent fasting. I think we're gonna do it, in a couple of months. So let's see. We're gonna do it for 21 days.
And I think it's quite possible that you'll be able to do it for 21 days and reap some great benefits. But I just don't know how realistic it is of a lifestyle, for the rest of your life. And so here I'm able to take some of that science that intermittent fasting, can do for the body. But by doing something, it's called early time restricted feeding, or ETRF. It's a version of intermittent fasting that's a lot more achievable.
All right, I'll check on that. Awesome. So, and the next rule is eat fat, and I love this one because I would always have discussions with my wife, even though she's very very educated in in diets and nutritions, but she just doesn't like, she sees fat. It's somehow like a devil for her, and then she understands that there are healthy fat and not so healthy ones, but still she always would take the low fat. And what I like actually in your book, the first sentence, how you describe it, is that you say fat-free is so 90s, which is true, right? It used to be
it's very dated.
Fat-free used to be a big trend, but now we are coming back into not fat-free, but choose what kind of fat you eat, right?
Absolutely. The minute you see fat-free or low fat on the label, you need to think high sugar or high preservatives. Right away, you're having a higher sugar content. Even on a natural product like dairy, where there's no added sugars, when you take out the fat and you're opting for skim milk, the sugar concentration is actually higher because you don't have the fat to balance it out. So your body will absorb that sugar so much quicker without the fat in there. So you're basically turning a relatively healthy product, if you can consume dairy and you tolerate it, into something that is, higher in sugar than you want it to be. So there's no reason. Fat does not make you fat at all. Fat is really important. All of our cell membranes are covered in fat. Our brain works off of fat. Fat is essential in our diet. I know right away when I have a client that avoids fat. I can see it in their skin. I can see it in their hair.
Okay, interesting.
It's quite visible. But I don't make fat its own food group in this book, because if you're cooking foods the right way, if you're opting for nuts and good quality dairy products, and you're having good quality meats, then you don't need to worry about fat. Fat's automatically happening. If you're sauteing your vegetables in coconut oil or ghee or grass-fed butter, using olive oil on top of your salad, fat is happening. So I don't want people to hyper-focus on it, but I want them to focus on not eliminating fat.
What could be also another example of a good meal that combines the rule number 1 and the rule number 4, right? Which is eat protein and fiber, and then eat fat. What could be a good lunch option, for example?
So lunch can be, a kale salad with chicken, protein and fiber right there, or fiber and protein, and you have some olive oil and vinegar on top of it, or some avocado for the fat, and lemon juice. So it's very simple. If you're cooking your foods the right way, if you're adding fat in your salad dressings and not opting for chemical-filled fat-free stuff, then you're going to have fat in every meal that you have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what would you say for the the men who are this food you described was very scary for some men, who want
that rabbit food? Yeah.
You may call it. I don't know. No, I mean, I like salads to some extent, but it just doesn't sound filling. How could you make that more filling? Just add more chicken, or?
Yeah, you could add more chicken, or let's just think you can even do like a burrito bowl, right? So, we love bowls here, right? So any sort of burrito bowl. So if you want to use the starch, you can have some brown rice, or some grains on the bottom. Top it with some, sauteed vegetables that are ideally sauteed in coconut oil or ghee or grass-fed butter. Using chicken or steak, whatever you like, and put a little bit of guacamole on top of that. I mean, that sounds delicious for man or female, right?
That's more like it. Yeah.
There you go.
One. Thanks, Brooke.
Anytime.
Great. So let's move to the rule number 5, and this one I would love to. I have a couple of additional questions.
Sure.
Watch the sugar, and you are quite, obviously super experienced already in your career, but I mean, you also have the book, right? You wrote the book, The Sugar Detox. So you even had this another book dedicated only for, how to eat less sugar and, how to limit that. So what's your point of view now about sugar?
Yes. I mean, sugar does nothing positive for us, right? And when I'm talking about sugar, I'm mainly talking about the added sugars, the natural sugars in fruits and in vegetables and in dairy products. Those are fine. That's not the reason why the majority of us in America are obese. I joke, a client once said to me, well, I know carrots have a lot of sugar in them, so should I not eat them? And I said, no one's ever had to sit on my couch in my office because I eat too many carrots. So let's call it what it is, right? So let's talk about the real deal. In the sugar detox, I focus on people with the true sugar addiction because sugar really acts like a drug in our body. And it stimulates all of those receptors in our brain that get stimulated with a lot of serious, other narcotics or drugs. So when we consume sugar, something dings in our body that says, "Ooh, this feels good." And then what happens? It starts to leave our body, and we start to withdraw from it. So what does our body say? I want more of that feel good feeling. So it's truly a drug in the way that our body reacts to it. Sugar happens, and intentional indulgence of having a cupcake or having a slice of pizza that's really high in sugar on just a savory form, that's okay to have as an indulgence. But my concern is when people consume sugar from morning to evening and not even realize it. It's turning your coffee into a milkshake. It's eating the bagel with refined carbohydrates that is pure sugar. It's having fat-free salad dressings on your salad. You're trying to make a healthy choice, and yet you're just smothering your kale and chicken, hopefully it's kale and chicken, with a sugar sweetened salad dressing. It's the constant intake of sugar all day long that's really causing our obesity epidemic, the type 2 diabetes epidemic, which then affects your heart health and your brain health. It's really the number one cause of diseases.
It is really quite insane how sugar penetrated our daily lives at so many levels, and I get it. Like we did this 3 weeks no sugar challenge, and for me the hardest part was the bakery products because I just love bakery products, so
Yeah.
I'm already like addicted to sweet pastries and so on, and 100% addict. Um, but what I'm let's say we don't have kids yet, but I know that once we raise our kids, we'll definitely be a lot more mindful, what kind of food they eat, because I think it definitely starts at the early stage, right? I mean, if I wouldn't have eaten candies and cakes and stuff like that and drink Coke while I was little, it wouldn't be as normal maybe for me, and such thing also as a breakfast cereal, right? I mean, breakfast cereal sounds so innocent, like you see the little mark, less sugar and stuff like that, but less probably it means 50 grams instead of 60, right?
Yeah, I think it's really important, speaking about kids, I don't think that your relationship with sugar is because of being allowed to have candy when you were younger. If anything, I think it's important to expose kids to things because when we, as parents especially, say, no, this is completely off limits, that's when all of a sudden food's put on a pedestal. And the day that your kid gets out of it, your house, where is he going to go or is she going to go? I remember when I was little, I was never allowed to have boxed mac and cheese, like the Kraft macaroni and cheese. And I mean, look, nor should I have been. It's nothing great. But because I was never even allowed to touch it, when I would go to a friend's house for a play date, I literally would just stay in the kitchen and make this macaroni and cheese. It's all I wanted. And I wasn't able to develop a relationship with it where, okay, let's have it as a special treat, but it's not something that should be part of our everyday. And when food is put on a pedestal, whether for children or for adults, like the breadbasket I talked about earlier, we lose a healthy relationship with it. So, as a mother, my children, I have two young daughters, we can have cookies and we can have dessert. Most of the time it's homemade. We make it ourselves or we buy it from a true bakery where it's made with flour, sugar, butter, and eggs versus something from a package. And this way they develop a healthy relationship. My kids can now eat a bite of a cookie and not finish the rest of it. And if only more of us could actually do that, I mean, I'd be out of business.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's kind of now I don't know, do I wish, people to be healthy or you have a healthy business? It's kind of both, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm super happy about your insights because I was actually always very curious, like how will how to approach the business of sugar and kids. So that definitely gave a good insights. Tell me also when we were doing this 3 weeks no sugar challenge, we would look for alternatives and we would find a lot of recipes with using dried fruits. As you know, you could make maybe a cake, with the dates as a base. What's your approach? Like if you would like, what's dried fruits okay or?
I mean, dried fruits are really condensed sugars, right? So you're still getting some vitamins, minerals, and perhaps some fiber in them. So it's better than pure sugar. But we can't fool ourselves that it's not having a similar effect on our body. So, I'd much rather someone use, say, a teaspoon of honey in their tea than need to have like 4 dates to eat with it. It's all about, being rational in our decision making. If you are going on a no sugar challenge and you're trying to avoid adding sugars in and you're using dates or dried fruit to sweeten things, that's totally fine. But let's not fool ourselves that you were being sugar free. It was just a healthy source of sugar or a healthier source of sugar. I think that's really important. So I love adding a date or two into a smoothie to naturally sweeten it, especially if I'm not using other fruits, because then it's really low in sugar, right? If those are the only fruit options I'm having. Or, even cakes made with dates and stuff. It's great. But dried fruit is a really condensed version of fruit. I'd much rather see people eat an apple than that. But it's a fine alternative if you're just trying to do a healthier dessert. But again, I don't want anyone to fool themselves into thinking that this is free because there's no added sugars aside from the dried fruit.
Exactly, because the sugar doesn't really dry out, right? I mean, what's the dried fruit is just the liquid, the water is evaporating, but the fiber is very condensed as well as the sugar in it, right? So it actually doesn't go anywhere. Same with juicing, right? So I used to actually, until I understood that juices are full of sugar, I used to enjoy juices. As soon as I heard that fact, I don't enjoy juices anymore, and that kind of destroyed me. The whole pleasure of having a freshly squeezed orange juice. but I understand that all I'm drinking is actually sugary water with the orange taste, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I love a good green juice, and so we have tons of juice places here in New York City where my clients, I'm happy for them to go get mainly greens. 1 apple can be in it, plus a lemon or a lime. But the rest of it's kale and cucumbers and celery. So you're able to get tons of vitamins and minerals instantly into your cells because it is in a juice. But because it's relatively low in sugar, we don't have to worry about those sugar spikes. But those plain fruit juices, whether it's apple, pineapple, orange, everything, it's just pure sugar. I'd much rather you have a smoothie where you could add protein and fiber to make it a lot more worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Good. I love those protein shakes. I always add a lot of bananas there.
Well, then you're just adding more sugar.
Yeah, I'm just adding more sugar. No. Life is hard. I need to control myself. Sweeteners. So one thing, once we did the research, and obviously, our level of knowledge is very, very on the surface, but we found out that stevia is literally the only kind of guilt-free sweetener you could have. Is that correct? So stevia is natural and stuff? No?
Nope. Well, so yes. So as of now, I have not seen any research connecting a health condition to stevia. So, as of all the artificial or natural sweeteners, stevia is the top bet for it. But what happens is when you use even something like stevia, its sweetness level, a drop of stevia is worth a tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of sugar. It's highly concentrated sweetness. So here's the problem. When you are constantly bombarding your palate and your taste buds with sugar, you lose the ability to determine what sweetness is naturally like. So that's why you most likely need so many bananas in your smoothie, just to give you a hard time for fun here. But it's when you're using these artificial sweeteners or natural sweeteners that are so concentrated in their sweetness levels, you set yourself up for failure because we no longer know that one fresh strawberry is incredibly sweet, right? Because the comparison of the sweetness in a strawberry compared to a couple of drops of stevia is going to win. It's highly sweet. So when we lose our connection with what real sugar and what real natural sweetness tastes like, you set yourself up for failure because it's just going to make you need more and more. That's why we have people dusting their strawberries with sweeteners or needing, whipped frosting on top of it or something, right? Berries should be your test for, is this sweet? And if you need something sweeter than a berry, then you're having an unhealthy relationship with sugar.
Okay, that's a very interesting point of view. I never thought of it like this. That I mean, I kind of knew that eating lots of sugar disbalance your taste buds for sweetness, and I noticed myself that after cutting out the sugar for a couple of weeks, especially after starting eating again, everything seems like it's super sweet, to the level of like, why the hell did you put so much sugar in here when it used to taste normally? So it does. It's probably that process of not adding any added sugar and stuff like that is the painful one, but actually the benefits of it when the food tastes more naturally, and the naturally sweet is actually the very good part. Good. So, and we could maybe move to the rule number 6. And we've covered this a little bit already. Indulge intentionally. So basically, this is your get out of the jail free card you could use once in a round, right?
Exactly. There's a time and a place for French fries or a cupcake or whatever your food of choice is. The only things that are just completely off limits for me are sodas and artificial sweeteners. But if you want a bowl of white pasta or if you want a cupcake, we need to figure out where and how to fit it in so that you can have a healthy relationship with these foods, right? No one ever had to come sit on my couch for weight loss because they have a cupcake once a week, right? That's not what people's problems are, or the bowl of pasta once a week. So how do we set up a healthy relationship, and how do we, leave room for your life to have that slice of cake? You indulge intentionally. And so this is when you have a meal or part of a meal that is not part of this protein and fiber and healthy fats, kind of rule. And you have to plan ahead for it. It needs to be a decision that you make for yourself. And then once you give yourself permission and you can eat it without guilt, because as soon as you feel guilty about the food you're eating, you're going to gain weight. It's just the way it works. And once you can have that healthy relationship and say, hey, I'm going to have a slice of cake tonight. It's my, friend's birthday party, or I'm at this restaurant with my husband and they have the best chocolate cake. As soon as you can do that in a healthy way, then you'll see you're not going to be finishing it anymore. Your relation to it is going to change with it. And you're going to have it when it's worthwhile. And then those moments that you think to grab that cookie just because it's in front of you, you're going to realize, you know what? I just had the most delicious cookie 2 days ago. I'm going to wait to plan for something that's really worthwhile. Mm-hmm. Make this stuff worth it.
Yeah, totally. It's similar concept to so-called cheat days and cheat meals, right? But actually, once you are living the healthy lifestyle, 6.5 days per week, and that half day, once you indulge yourself, in a couple of things, you like, but, it's not so good for you, you end up enjoying it much more, right? Rather than eating pizza every day. But yeah.
Yeah, I sent a client who refused to indulge, and we planned out an indulgence for her, and it was these special French fries at a restaurant near my office.
And she said she doesn't want to cheat. She doesn't want to.
No, and she was refusing it. And finally, I convinced her, you're going to order the French fries. I had to literally force this woman to order fries. And because she always thought that she'd never be able to stop eating them when she started. So what happened? She starts eating the fries. Midway through, they were a little cold. They weren't as good anymore. She felt okay having them. It was the first time in 20 years that this woman was ever able to not eat the whole serving of French fries. That's how you do it, right? Like, we shouldn't be shoving into our mouths because it's the only time we can have it. And that's why the cheat day or cheat meals doesn't work. When you call it an intentional indulgence and you specifically plan and you don't feel any guilt and you allow it to happen, then you're setting up a healthy relationship with food. And that's my ultimate goal for everyone.
Yeah. And just be mindful, right? Just be mindful about those moments you're eating. So it's not just, you're eating on your office, while you're working, like the meal.
Which perhaps I did earlier.
Okay. So at least it's good to know you're not perfect either. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to get through the day.
Yeah, it's true. So I'll be making my banana shakes very soon.
Perfect.
And maybe it will help me with the fever. By the way, dear listeners, if you notice that my voice is slightly different is because I'm super high fever, but talking with Brooke here, I already forgot about it. So that's a good side effect of enjoying this podcast. Um, uh,
Healthiness through Skype.
exactly. Through work, I guess. Yeah, through Skype. Um, we got four more rules. Supplement smartly, and that's very interesting because supplements is huge, right? It's a huge industry. You know, we all have. I guess every single person in the cupboards have a lot of supplements and vitamins, and but without any kind of education, we tend to, I guess, misuse them, right? So, what do you mean smartly? What is a smart way of supplementing?
I mean, look, even going into these, the pharmacies with all of the supplements is overwhelming for me. And I'm literally a professional. I'm the expert on it, and I find it overwhelming. So I wanted to just really break it down into products that I thought were important to take, ones that I think people should take every day and that should be in a permanent rotation, or others that are sort of bonus for extra needs that you might have. And so I was really lucky that I got to co-create a bunch of the supplements that I thought were missing from the marketplace. And the first one is that I think everyone should be taking is a fiber supplement. And I actually was able to create a fiber and protein supplement combined. So here you have rule number one in a delicious powder that we created, which, I'm sure you'll send your listeners to my website to learn all about.
Exactly. Exactly. Actually, let's just, in case people don't go to show notes, that will be in b-nutritious.com/shop, right? That's where you can find all your supplements.
Thank you. I like that. That was excellent. Yes. Yeah. So I made this great protein and fiber supplement where you have 8 grams of fiber and 5 grams of protein in one scoop, and you just mix it in with water, and it's a great just way to start your day. There's lots of other fiber supplements that are out there. I think it's really special to have the protein mixed in there too. But just how to get more protein and fiber into your diet every day. This is a great way. Another supplement, I got to recreate a multivitamin. I think a lot of the multivitamins that are on the markets are antiquated. We don't need that much vitamin C and vitamin A, and they're really missing on a lot of the important things. One of my rules, which is the next rule, is all about sleep, and I'm obsessed with sleep. It's the first thing when I wake up in the morning. It's the first thing I think about is what can I do today to set myself up for a better night's sleep tonight. Perhaps that's just a result of parenthood or a personal obsession with sleep, but I think that we are, right now going through a sleep deprivation epidemic. And it is, it's going to really affect on our health.
It became some kind of fashion. I don't get this. I don't get this. How did we end up in thinking that sleeping less than our body needs is somehow better because those 2 extra hours we're gonna spend, working?
It happens because we took all the fat out of our diets and we weren't thinking straight in the 90s. That's what happened.
Yes, the 90s. The fat from 90s really messed us up. Yeah.
I blame the 90s for it all. But so I think there's some really good multivitamins out on the market. I got to create one that I thought was great, and it utilizes your sleep as your restorative phase and helps support a healthy, nighttime ritual. So I love our multivitamin, which is called Nightly One. I also think everyone should be taking some type of omegas. There's amazing ones on the market. It didn't make sense for me to reinvent the wheel. I recommend Nordic Naturals, but there's hundreds of different products that are great. Just look ones that are sustainably farmed. That's the one thing I really care about, or sustainably sourced. Look for a brand that does good in the world. And so, those are the ones. And then also a really good prebiotic or probiotic or some sort of combination. I was really lucky I got to make a prebiotic and probiotic formula using spores, which I think are the next evolution of probiotics. And so they basically stay dormant until your body digests them, and then they need to wake up where they are in your intestine and start doing their job. Many of the probiotics we take are no longer active by the time we consume them, or they no longer actually are active by the time they get to where they need to go. So those are the 4 essential ones that I think everyone should be taking. My products or any other products, just look for a brand that you can trust. Ask your pharmacist, ask your doctor. It's really focus in. Don't look at all of these, the rows and rows of options. You don't need to be taking it, because when you take so many, that's when you stop taking it, because you get pill fatigue.
Gotcha. So once again, to recap the 4, You mean it's fiber, protein, probiotics, and what was the last one I forgot?
There was a nightly one, which is
Yeah.
multivitamin and an
Yes.
omega.
Omega, yeah, correct. Awesome. So we'll check them out. My wife is definitely bigger expert there, so I will send her to your website, so we could test a couple of products. Awesome. So we will slowly wrap up because you have the next meeting pretty soon, and I don't want you to be fashionably late. So unfortunately, we just went through the 7 rules. We got the 3 more: get some sleep, drink water, and exercise. The sleep we touched on a little bit. Drink water. A few words about that.
Sure. I mean, we're chronically dehydrated right now. So hydration makes you feel, being dehydrated makes you crave sugary foods, makes you, tired, and makes you not productive. Drink water, set a reminder, get a big bottle, that you can refill and keep on your desk with you in your bag, always water. Just hydrate with water, nothing else, water.
Yeah, just water, exactly. And actually, we have another challenge, dear listeners. If you're listening, we will have a 3 weeks nothing but water challenge. So it will be, basically not drinking any tea, coffee, or alcohol, or obviously no sodas for 3 weeks, and just see how your body reacts, and maybe that will kick off the healthy habit. And exercise, pretty straightforward, I guess, right?
Move your body every day. Try to get some high intensity interval training in at least 2 to 3 times a week. But just move, and move throughout the day. It's one thing, you can go for an hour-long run or an hour-long workout in the morning, but then if you're just going to sit at your desk the rest of your day, it's not a great balance. I want to see people getting active throughout the day. So normally when I'm on a conference call versus a Skype call, I'm pacing in my office. Use the stairs instead of the elevator. Just move your body as much as you can. Your body will thank you.
It will thank you by being awesomely fit and glowing. Awesome. So we ran through the 10 rules that can be found in your book, The Diet Detox, which can be found on Amazon. So I will put that link definitely in the show notes of this podcast. People should definitely purchase if they would like to get more deeper in each single rule. So just we do this kind of a rapid fire round,
Sure.
questions, just very quickly. You ready for that?
Born ready.
Born ready. Beautiful. All right. So tea or coffee?
Coffee.
How does your morning look like?
Hectic.
Hectic. Okay.
Hectic.
Being a mom superpower.
Exactly. I have 2 small kids.
Yeah.
Put the cape on, get them to school, get to office, drink a lot of coffee in between.
What is the best life advice you ever got?
Oh, that's not a rapid fire question.
Yeah, I know. I just realized not that rapid fire. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. You know what? The days are long, the years are short.
City everybody should visit.
New York City.
New York City, definitely. City never sleeps. And how can people find you online the best?
Yeah, follow me on my website. Any social media, just look for Be Nutritious, the letter B, then the word nutritious. You can find me anywhere, basically.
All right, great. So I'll definitely once again put those links in the show notes. So Brooke, thank you so much for giving us time and your insights about the healthy lifestyle.
Perfect. I hope you feel better. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey guys, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find the show notes of this and other episodes of the 21-Day No Sugar Challenge by simply going to hustleduo.com/no sugar. And if you enjoyed this podcast in general, please leave a review on iTunes. Every single review really counts, especially in the beginning for a fresh new podcast like that we are. And finally, if you want to keep in touch, the best way to do that is to go to our Instagram profile, The Hustle Duo. We post daily our stories and posts and all the news that's happening. And we really love hearing back from you guys. So we're looking forward to get those DMs, comments, and likes and everything. We appreciate every single one of them. Thank you. Enjoy the day and see you in the next episode.